Hey guys, Aaron Wilson. I'm at NRG Stadium, and the Texans got some good news on the injury front today at practice, their Thursday session, and it wasn't unexpected developments, but it's still good to see for the Texans as they get ready for this road game against the Baltimore Ravens. And Derek Stingley Jr., as we had said and reported that he would, return to practice. They were managing his left oblique injury that he first incurred against the Los Angeles Rams in the season opener. As you guys know, he missed most of the Jaguars game and then came back and played the majority of the game against the Titans, did not aggravate the injury, in fact, intercepted a pass. So he was limited in practice. A guy that did not practice today, Foley Fatukasi's shoulder, but they did get back Will Anderson Jr., and that was legitimately a rest situation. I watched him run today, and he looked absolutely 100%. So Will Anderson Jr., the Pro Bowl defensive end, back. The All-Pro corner, Derek Stingley Jr. back. No Fatukasi. They do have some depth at the defensive tackle position. You guys have been seeing the way Tommy Togiai, as I reported exclusively with that one-year, $3.3 million contract extension, definitely justifying this modest investment, but a good one nonetheless. And, people will dunk on Nick Caserio a little bit for the offensive line, obviously, and a lot of that well-deserved. But this is a good move where he picked him up and had him on the practice squad. Then they developed him. Credit to the Texans defensive coaching staff and D'Amico Ryans. And they've had a plan for him. And now Togiai, they're starting to see some real production from Tommy. The play he made in the backfield, the pass deflection. So, yeah, a good football player and also the strongest guy on the team, pound for pound. So, other injuries, Nico Collins upgraded to full participation, and so that's another good development, along with Harrison Bryant, and they need Harrison as a backup tight end, of course. So for the Ravens, yes, Lamar Jackson is not playing. I repeat, he is not going to play in this game. He is not practicing again today. The Ravens star quarterback, he will miss this game. It will be Cooper Rush, who is 9-5 all-time as a starter, capable backup that the Texans defeated last year when he was with the Dallas Cowboys. So a negative development on top of the many negative developments for the Ravens. They are just absolutely just hard luck with injuries right now. Kyle Hamilton didn't practice, downgraded to not practicing due to a groin injury. Starting corner Chidobe Awuzie did not practice again due to a hamstring. Marlon Humphrey is expected to miss this game with a calf injury, their other corner. And then Patrick Ricard, their big 300-pound fullback, expected to miss the game with a calf injury. Roquan Smith expected to miss the game with a hamstring injury. So lots of bad developments. They may get Ronnie Stanley back. He returned to practice. They're very good left tackle from an ankle injury. And they got Nate Wiggins back from an elbow injury. Nate is another excellent young corner for the Ravens. And then Tyler Linderbaum, full participation. Someone they should have drafted. He has a calf injury, but he's full participation. They're getting back Brent Urban from a finger injury and Kyle Vanoy from a hamstring. So those guys are all full participation, and that evens things out a little bit for the Ravens. Looking at and talking to Matt Burke today and about him calling the plays again, and that's going to continue. They still have some serious players to deal with when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, skilled players, even without Lamar Jackson. So first and foremost, let's talk about Derrick Henry. I used to call him the Juggernaut. This guy is about 250 pounds of bad news, just a devastating running back, dominant, fast, big, runs through tackles, really tough, fast once he gets going. The biggest thing, the way to stop number 22, don't let him get started. That's what they did a couple years ago when he was with the Titans. They did a lot of run blitzes. Maybe they'll do that again. That was still D'Amico Ryans as the architect of the defense. So I could see them doing that again. So I've done a little bit of research here. And the Texans are the team that he's had the most success rushing against. So he's played 15 games. He's 8-7 as a member of those teams in terms of wins. 8 wins, 7 losses. Rushed for 1,578 yards. Averaged 5.64 yards per carry, 13 touchdown runs. Only one team has he had more touchdown runs against, and that's the Jaguars with 16. And they rank second in terms of yardage, 1,564 yards and a 4.99 average. So nobody worse than the Texans against King Henry, as they call him. And so they got to get him tackled. They got to get him down. They've got to do a good job against him. And Azeez Al-Shire talked about that today, about Derrick Henry in that matchup. And it's a tough one. You know, he's very good. He's an outstanding running back. And obviously, you know, it figures that they would go to him a bit more with the way he's playing. And, you know, he's off to a good start this season. You know, he's averaging nearly 6 yards per run, 5.8 average, 284 yards, 3 touchdowns. So he's still at age 31, very well preserved. He spends, read, like $250,000 a year in the off season on his body. So he does a lot of work, a lot of maintenance. It's like a sports car, a well-oiled machine, and 6'2" and 252 pounds. So Tractorcito or the King or King Henry, whatever you want to call him, just call him good. And everybody remembers the Christmas embarrassment at the expense of the Texans on Netflix. As Nico Collins says, we got killed. They did. And the guy that was one of the guys, you know, stabbing the Texans was Derrick Henry, dagger right up the middle, 147 rushing yards. It was ugly. But at least they don't have to deal with the great Lamar Jackson. Other players they will have to account for, and talking to Matt Burke about this, because today is Coordinator Thursday. That means we got to talk to all the coordinators, Matt Burke, Nick Caley, and Frank Ross, special teams coordinator. So they'll still have Zay Flowers. They'll be able to throw to Zay. Zay's outstanding. Rashad Bateman, very good receiver. DeAndre Hopkins, still very good in his own right. He's someone that, you know, is a great pass catcher. He's really good at, you know, catching the football. His body control is still very good. And they have Mark Andrews, great understanding of spacing. He's someone that is really good at just finding the seam in the defense, finding the weakness, and they still have some good offensive linemen out there. They're going to have Tyler Linderbaum out there. They're going to have, you know, a lot of good players out there. It looks like Ronnie Stanley's coming back, so that helps them. And, yeah, they're going to be somewhat depleted on defense. I mean, it may be a lineup of maybe Calvin Oy's out there. Sounds like he will be. No Roquan Smith. They'll have Odafe Owe, Brent Urban, Aeneas Peebles, of course, Ndamukong Madubuike out for the year with a neck injury. They'll have Travis Jones out there. He's pretty good. Teddy Buchanan, he's solid, very good young player. Kyle Hamilton, that's not headed in the right direction. And they still have Malachi Starks, who's really good. If it is the backup corners, you're looking at Yair Alexander, Robert Longerbeam, so some depth issues there. Broderick Washington, one of their other good defensive linemen, is out for the season. He's from Texas Tech, a good football player, and he's out for the year. Tavius Robinson is kind of an ace in the hole for the Ravens. Not a lot of people talk about him. He's really, really good. And I don't say this just because my good friend Murphy McGuire, if he's listening, represents him. Murphy's an outstanding agent out of Octagon, based in Houston. So one of these days he'll have a Texan. I know it. He's going to have a Texan. So you look at the kicking game. They have Tyler Loop, been a great replacement for Justin Tucker. Of course, Justin no longer playing right now because of his off-field issues, which are, you know, well documented and disappointing. Absolutely, someone that knew Justin back in his first years with the Ravens. Some tough allegations against Justin. So I want to flip it a little bit here and start talking about the other side of the football. And I feel like our conversations with Nick Caley are interesting ones because, you know, it's really a prism into how he sees things, how he sees offensive football. So, you know, we had a good convo with Nick, and he answered a lot of questions. This was a more comfortable conversation because now they're coming off of a good game. So, you know, I asked him, what specifically is better? And he says execution, operation cleaner, as I agree, there were less penalties, sustained it, put together these long drives, but they got to finish better, and I agree with that. There were too many field goals, and there wasn't enough touchdowns. But in the fourth quarter, they caught fire. Woody Marks, got to play more. You guys saw my interview with Woody. and get the chance to ask him some questions. He's very focused. He's laser focused for this game against the Baltimore Ravens. So it's a big opportunity for Woody, and you can kind of see the way he stoned that guy in pass protection, just absolutely crushing block. As he said, if you're not blocking, you're not rocking, and you're not going to get the rock. I like that saying. He got that at Mississippi State before he transferred to USC, but they like the way he runs the ball. They like his vision, explosive traits. I don't know if he'll start. I think he won't. I think Nick Chubb will still start, but as they called him, a violent protector, Nick Haley's words, where he gets under people's pads, and that trajectory, they're seeing good things from Woody Marks. So in terms of improvement, they just need to get better. They need more touchdowns. They need to finish these drives after they cross midfield, and they need to be a tougher team still. I think they are adding to that. The pass protection is now in the middle of the pack. In terms of statistics and analytics, the offensive line is better. I repeat, the offensive line is improved. Wasn't able to say that a few weeks ago. It's now, after a decent couple of games, it's getting there. They will continue to use British Brooks because of Jakob Johnson being out with the hamstring. They'll use British Brooks. They call him a Swiss Army knife. They like having him as a fullback, running back, tight end, special teams. He can do a lot of things. He can carry the ball. He can do some things. They want to continue to do more with the rookies. That means more Jaden Higgins, more Jalen Noel. I think especially in the terms of Higgins, they have to develop him. We're just not seeing enough from Christian Kirk, enough production. This is going to be his third game of the season, and just not seeing a lot of improvement. We are seeing more confidence from the team overall as far as the offense. And C.J. Stroud had that great analogy, great line about it being like the new iPhone. You got to get used to it, know how to use the iPhone. That's important. But actually, there's one thing that was interesting. You saw the fast sack by Jeffrey Simmons, and I don't think I got a chance to explain this, but Nick Haley did too. There was an alert from C.J. Stroud. The alert did not get communicated by Jake Andrews to everybody across the line, and that led to some confusion. You saw guys, including Ed Ingram and Titus Howard, knock helmets. That was rough. And you saw Jeffrey Simmons, I think his sack was in under 1 second. So one of the fastest sacks you'll see in NFL history. It takes a real screw-up for something like that to happen. So that was on the Texans, not just the great Jeffrey Simmons, but just the way that they orchestrated everything. They are definitely, getting feedback from players. They're listening. There's making some subtle tweaks, and pre-snap communication does need to get better. They're playing an injury-depleted Ravens defense. Everybody knows that. If there was a time for the Texans to beat the Ravens in Baltimore, where they have never won a game before, it's now. But to do that, they've got to take care of themselves, worry about themselves more so than, it's going to be easy. If they think that way, they'll lose again. So, for the, whole operation here, I think they cannot get cocky. I mean, they just won one game against a bad Titans team, so you can't just all of a sudden, kind of feel like, we're just going to throw our helmets out there, we're going to win a game. So since I brought up the history, let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about these games. So 2002, they lose. And, you look back, there's just so many years. There's 2005, 2008, 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013, 2014, 2017, 2019, 2020. In 2023, the first year of the DeMeco Ryans era, they start the season with a loss there, even though Steven Nelson had an interception early game of Lamar Jackson. But they win, and I believe that was the game. Yeah, Jalen Petrie bruised his lung and had to go to the hospital and stay overnight before he could fly home. They lose that game. Then they lose to them in the playoffs. They lose the divisional round game. Isaiah Likely gets behind guys in coverage. They had problems with Lamar Jackson. C.J. Stroud had a decent game, but it wasn't enough. The only touchdown, Steven Sims on punt return. So that was ugly. That was 34-10. Early in the year, it was 25-9. And so DeMeco Ryans and several players, they've been a part of some of these losses they've taken to the Ravens. So, and of course the Christmas embarrassment on Netflix with Beyonce in the building. Tough night. 31-2. Only points they scored on that Kamari Lassiter safety where he tackles Derrick Henry, the great King Henry, in the backfield. I think it's a very winnable football game, and this is the time for the Texans, like I said, to reinforce that. This is the time for them to win. In terms of other stuff going on with the team, I could see Damon Arnett possibly being up this week for depth. I think they've been preparing him for a role with Jalen Smith still sidelined, so maybe he gets that D'Angelo Ross elevation. We'll see if Miles Bryant is up again. That is certainly possible because they like what he does on special teams. There's no real injury situation where it absolutely forces their hand, where they have to make some moves in terms of the practice squad. I think whenever Trent Brown is healthy enough, they would like to have Trent Brown up. I've seen some of the conversations about trading Cam Robinson, trading away depth. Don't disagree with that. Just because the guy wants to be traded, he should be traded. I think it was different during the Mark Ingram trade that year where the Texans were absolutely hopeless, and they weren't really set up or intending to win. Really, they were just intending to try to be competitive and then play for draft position. That's what they did. But it's different now. It's about winning. What happens if you lose Ursery and Titus Howard and you're down to Blake Fisher and Trent Brown? That could happen. You can lose both tackles. It can certainly happen. Injuries do happen. They happen all the time in the NFL. So you'd already paid the guy. Have him stick around. I don't know if he would have become a morale issue. It's hard to predict that, how he would react. But I understand why they did it. I would just say that sometimes moves you make, you can regret them. You can regret making them, because the player doesn't become a starter or he can't stay a starter in Cam Robinson's case. But yeah, just some food for thought there. That you got to wonder if they were being hard-nosed enough in terms of a personnel situation, because tackles don't grow on trees. So they really want to think about every move like that. And we'll see what happens. But yeah, hopefully that doesn't come back to bite them. Ursery, I think he continues to develop. I like what I'm seeing from Tay. He's a good young player. Just needs more seasoning, needs to continue to develop. So guys, Friday, the Texans will have practice inside probably at NRG Stadium. They usually do that on Fridays. So we'll have coverage of that. We'll see if there's any more interviews from the locker room. Maybe Will Anderson Jr. haven't talked to him yet this week, and a few other players. But today, you'll see in this video, I'll attach interviews with Azeez Al-Shire and Jalen Petrie, along with some B-roll from practice. Please check out the shorts. Please watch, like, subscribe to the channel. Check me out here, and of course, on Twitter and X, @AaronWilson_NFL. On television at KPRC2. Like I said before, I will be there in Baltimore. And guys, your support of the channel helps me to continue to do everything I'm doing in terms of coverage and going to every game, every practice, all of the training camp stuff, West Virginia, Detroit, all over the country. Follow these guys around, do it all for you and for my family and for KPRC2. So yeah, please check me out there and at www.click2houston.com and on Instagram, AaronWilson7128, and I am all over social media. I'm almost feel overexposed sometimes. I'm kidding. There's no such thing, right? And yeah, please check out everything I'm doing. I'm really excited about all the coverage we're doing, and there's some special feature coming up on Dylan Horton. I'm working on that, and Randy McElvoy is involved in that too. I'll be doing a television version of the story. I'll be doing a digital story and some online things in addition to a written article. Anyway, guys, so good to talk to you, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks, and have a good night. Bye.
So I don't think it's changed from that aspect. Obviously, I played with Derrick Henry in Tennessee. He's a physical back, big dude, big hunter. So I just think it just fits what they're trying to do. And when you talk about just the NFL in general, it's always a one-on-one. You got to win your one-on-one matchup. So they take that, obviously, and try to be physical.
Is there a key to stopping or slowing down Derrick Henry?
Oh man, you gotta get in front of him, man. They say don't get in front of a moving train, but you gotta get in front of that train before he gets going. So, like I say, he's a great player. Obviously, he's he's Hall of Fame type player. He's put up his career, number of respect for him as a brother. So it's going to be a good game.
Aziz, it's another road game.
I don't know if going against a team makes it easier or worse. I think when you play a team in your division, for example, you play them twice. That was in San Francisco. We played the Rams twice every year, and then played them a third time in the playoffs, and they ended up beating us in the playoffs. We beat them the first 2 times. So it's just so unique. Every game is its own game, but you can definitely learn from things that maybe work or didn't work.
Aziz,
you guys are both from Baltimore, you grew up as Ravens fans. Is there anything for her that she could soon be rooting any different way?
We grew up like that, but once I got older, I'm a professional, it's my job, so I'm sure you love KPRC Channel 2. That's your favorite news channel, because they're who you work for. So it's the same thing, I think as I got older, it's different. But my mom is my biggest fan. So.
What's different about preparing for them physically?
It's always good to go against some of the best in the league.
Jalen, when you look at the matchup, you guys have been up there a lot of times. What does it take to win in Baltimore, in your opinion?
Execution. It's simple to that. Like, anytime we play Baltimore, not Baltimore, when we've executed and done things the right way, we've won because we have the players to do that. But when we don't execute, when we let people hang around, when we do things that's not Texan-like, that's when we end up losing. So at the end of the day, it's just all about execution and making sure that we're on our P's and Q's.
It's one game, but the franchise as a whole for a lot of years, even going back to the D'Amico era, there have been a lot of L's to, I think it's 13-2. Does the Christmas game and this stuff, do you throw it out the window, or do you say, hey, you know what, there's a little tiny bit extra motivation to get this done?
Yeah, for sure. You can use that as motivation, like you said. Me personally, it's another game that I got to go out there and execute and make plays for the team to win.